The woman collapsed against my fruit stand just before sunset, knocking 3 oranges onto the pavement. When I caught her, she gripped my wrist with surprising strength and whispered, "Don't call his family." Then she looked over my shoulder, saw a black car slowing at the corner, and fainted in my arms. My name is Daniel, and I had owned that small fruit stand for 11 years. Most evenings were ordinary. Tired workers bought bananas, children pointed at strawberries, and neighbors stopped to complain about the heat. But that evening, one frightened stranger turned my quiet corner into a place where every decision could change a life. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this, make sure to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness, hope, and humanity. I carried the woman into the tiny storage room behind my stand and called an ambulance. She was pale, breathing quickly, with a bruise near her temple. Her purse was missing, but she wore an expensive watch and carried a small silver key. When she woke, her first question was, "Did you call them?" "No," I said. "I called an ambulance." Her eyes filled with relief, but only for a second. "Please cancel it." "You collapsed." "I'm not canceling anything." She tried to sit up. "You don't understand. If my husband's family finds me, they'll take my daughter." That sentence changed everything. I asked what had happened, but she shook her head. Her name was Elena. She said her husband had died 3 months earlier, leaving behind a successful construction company. His family had immediately taken control of everything, including access to Elena's daughter, Mia. "They said I was unstable," she whispered. "They want everyone to believe I'm dangerous." Before I could answer, footsteps stopped outside. A man's voice called, "Miss. Are you inside?" Elena grabbed my sleeve. "That's them." I stepped outside and saw 2 men beside the black car. One wore a suit. The other stood with his hands in his pockets, watching the storage room. "Have you seen this woman?" the suited man asked, showing me a photograph. I glanced at it. Elena looked frightened but unmistakably the same. "She passed through earlier," I lied. "Bought some apples and left." The man studied me. Then he smiled. "If you see her, call this number. Her family is worried." They drove away. I returned to Elena, furious at myself for lying but more frightened of what might happen if I had told the truth. She reached into her coat and pulled out a folded receipt. "My husband left this hidden in our house," she said. "I found it after his funeral. The silver key opens a locker at the central station. There's evidence inside. Evidence that proves his family didn't just steal the company." "What did they do?" Elena stared at the floor. "They caused his death." The ambulance arrived minutes later. Elena finally agreed to go, but before leaving, she pressed the key into my hand. "If I disappear," she said, "take this to a lawyer. Not my husband's lawyer. Someone independent." At the hospital, I waited outside while doctors examined her. An hour later, a police officer approached me. He had questions about the men and the car. Then Elena's phone rang. The screen showed a message, "We know where you are." That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I took the key to the station. The locker contained documents, photographs, bank records, and a voice recorder. Elena's husband had secretly recorded conversations proving that his brother had been falsifying company accounts and threatening him. There was also a letter explaining everything. But the most painful discovery was a photograph of Mia. On the back, Elena's husband had written, "Protect her mother. She is the only person who can keep my daughter safe." I later learned why Elena had trusted a stranger instead of the people around her. For weeks, she had been asking neighbors for help, but everyone feared the powerful family behind her husband's company. Some had seen men following her. Others had heard rumors that Elena was responsible for the death. Fear had made decent people silent. I understood then that her whisper at my stand had not been only a request for secrecy. It had been a test of whether one person would finally choose courage over comfort. I was grateful that, for once, I had not listened to fear. I immediately contacted a lawyer through a local legal aid office. By afternoon, investigators were involved. Elena's husband's family arrived at the hospital demanding custody. This time, they were not alone. Police officers were waiting. The evidence from the locker changed the entire case. Weeks later, Elena returned to my fruit stand with Mia holding her hand. She looked healthier, but her eyes still carried the memory of that terrible night. Mia placed a small paper bag on my counter. "For you," she said. Inside was a wooden apple carved by hand. Elena smiled. She said, "You saved us." I shook my head. "You saved yourself. I just believed you when nobody else did." She looked at the old fruit stand, then at her daughter. "Sometimes," she said softly, "a stranger gives you enough courage to become yourself again." I watched them walk away together, Mia skipping beside her mother. That day taught me something I will never forget: kindness does not always look heroic. Sometimes it is simply believing a frightened person, making one difficult phone call, or refusing to look away when walking away would be easier. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments what you would have done if you were standing beside that fruit stand. And if you believe one small act of compassion can change someone's life, like this video and subscribe for more stories about kindness, hope, courage, compassion, and humanity.